And off we go. Hey, Ted Coley, it's good to see
Hey,
you again.
how you doing?
Hey, we are Beacon of Speech. I am Fred Hunt. That is Ted Coley across the desk from me. What is Beacon of Speech about? Selling freedom of speech to everybody. Yay, everybody gets freedom of speech. If I had a copy of the First Amendment, I would waive it. Do we have a camera yet, Ted?
No, not that I know of.
No, we have failed yet again.
Unless there's a hidden camera.
Well, yeah, the hidden cameras that are all around us. Free speech is under constant assault in America today. We'll be beating that into the ground today. The problem is that it's coming from two places that's very hard to fight. From the left, PC madness. From the right, corporations. The concept that we're all in this together is lost in today's America. America is supposed to lead by example, not force its will on other countries. What are the limits to free? I'm glad I can read my own scripts. What are the limits to free speech? Pure evil. Evil is debatable. Pure evil is absolute. Like it or not, a lot of the Constitution is based on vague Christian principles. I cannot speak today. There is a God, just unclear over which religious entities have the correct message. Does that sound vaguely familiar?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how we start
Seems like
every show.
Yeah, we hear that every time.
Are you feeling good about your freedom of speech today, Ted?
Not really.
Are you feeling like you will be arrested at the street corner?
Possibly.
Yeah. The big topic this week, of course, is ISIS and San Bernardino.
Right.
Do I have the right? It's not San Fernando, it's San Bernardino?
Yeah, San Bernardino. There's like an R in there an extra R in there that I don't know, it just doesn't seem right.
Let me be crystal clear. We have freedom of speech in America. And who shot those people in San Bernardino?
Terrorists?
What kind of terrorists?
Islamic?
Very good. Now, in the same sentence, Ted Coley, who shot those people?
Islamic terrorists?
Very good. I do not understand what's so hard to say. Militant extremists, militant Islamic terrorists. Now, people said you shouldn't say that. Now, I'm going to bring up my point of why I'm twisting your arm and trying to put words into your mouth. 2 weeks ago, there was another mass shooting. Do you remember that one? The Planned Parenthood shooting.
Yes.
That was 2 weeks ago. Now, do you know who shot up that Planned Parenthood?
You know, I didn't hear that much about that one. No, it was a crazy guy, right?
Crazy guy. If you saw him, he had a full white beard. He had his hair straight up like he hadn't combed his hair.
And he was kind of like middle age, right? Like
middle age. He looked like me,
or something like that.
Yeah, overweight, dumpy. Okay, but I am not going to the Planned Parenthood to shoot anything. Okay, but my question is to you, Ted. Who shot up the Planned Parenthood?
Now, was this guy, I'm just guessing, I have no idea, but was he a Christian?
Yes.
Okay.
What type of Christian, Ted?
A radical Christian?
A radical Christian terrorist. Was that so hard to say? Now, people on the left do not want to say that they were Muslim extremists in San Bernardino, and people on the right do not want to hear that it's Christian extremists on the other side. That Planned Parenthood guy went into the Planned Parenthood. I've been reading about this. He went into the Planned Parenthood with his gun, and he yelled, "Save the babies!"
Now, is it a fact that he is a Christian? Or...
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So, because he wanted to save the babies for Christ. Now, I'm not...
And he said that, right? He said,
yes.
He mentioned Christ.
Oh, well, I guess he said save the babies, but I don't think he was saving the babies for Satan.
Okay.
Okay?
So, I mean, if somebody wants to save the whales, I mean, does that mean
that's very true. But my understanding is that he was a Christian and he did not approve of abortion. Okay. Now, without getting into the abortion topic, okay, why can't we say in America right-wing extremists and left-wing extremists? Why can't we say religious extremists? Why can't we say militant Islamic extremist and militant Christian extremist? I mean, granted, they're two different events, right? And one was Planned Parenthood people, and I guarantee you there's a lot of right-wingers who said, well, that Planned Parenthood got what they deserved. And there's a lot of left-wingers who said, we're all those people, it was workplace violence. How many times did you hear the
workplace violence?
Workplace violence. No. Why can't we come out and say, call a shooting and go from there? It's all about being able to have the freedom in America to say what you want. Now, that segues us into Trump, okay? Now, I am not voting for Trump. I am not voting for Trump. He is a maniac, okay? Are you voting for Trump?
He's a charismatic maniac.
He is a charismatic maniac. He fires people he doesn't like. And wouldn't you like, you know what? I would love to go into work one day and say, you know what? Well, something's happening. Our thing was bopping around. Wouldn't you like to go into work and say you're fired to somebody every week that you don't like? Wouldn't that be a nice little gimmick that you got?
Yeah, that'd be a nice perk.
Listen, Brett Michaels, I didn't like the way you organized the ice cream raffle. You're fired. Isn't that what Donald Trump would say?
Mm-hmm.
Are you voting for Trump?
I don't know yet.
That's fair. That's not a wrong or a right answer. The reason I bring it up is after the San Bernardino shootings, he said, no more Muslims come into the country, right?
Temporarily.
Temporarily. Once you leave, you don't come back.
Now, does that apply to Muslims who are citizens here who go on vacation overseas? They're not allowed back? Or
That my understanding is that's correct.
Really?
Yes. Now,
so Muslims who are citizens of this country,
right.
If they go on vacation, they're not allowed back in.
I think that's what he's saying because you can't tell if you're going on vacation to beautiful Acapulco or going to beautiful downtown Islamabad in Pakistan.
See, I just thought, and I could be wrong, but I just thought he meant people coming from other countries,
Well,
like Syria.
One of the problems they said was that these guys in San Bernardino were Americans and they went back to Pakistan. Well, they said they went on vacation to see their families. Well,
it was just the husband. He was born here, right?
I believe so, but I don't have it in front of me, so I'm sorry.
Okay.
But the point is that Trump is not saying... Now, if Trump says kill all the Muslims, no matter what, that's evil, right? Pure evil.
Right.
He's not saying that. He's saying nobody else comes in America, and there's precedence for it. I'm not saying that Trump is right or wrong. Again, I'm not voting for him. But in the arena of ideas, he has the right to say that I don't think we should let him in, and we can debate it. And then he also said that, it's temporary. Well, how long would it be? Well, in World War II, how long was it? It was for 4 years. Yeah. And how long was it in the Spanish-American War? And we could go back. We are talking about the American Constitution. They said it's unconstitutional. Actually, that's not true.
All right.
You can do that for foreign, I don't know what the word is, not spies, but foreign combatants.
Right.
If you can't narrow down the foreign combatants, you can take a broad stroke and, Donald Trump could easily say, no one else comes in the country. We're locking down the borders, all borders. No Canadians, no Mexicans, no Islamics. And he would be well within the rights of the Constitution. Now, you would have to go through Congress, and they could try and impeach you. Now,
wait a minute.
Yeah.
People who are coming in from, or trying to come in from other countries, our Constitution doesn't apply to them. They have no rights.
Right. You have to go through the Canadian Constitution. And nowhere in the Canadian Constitution does it say you have the right to go to America. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Again, me and you, we are in the cozy confines of Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, more or less. We're on the edge. We're not
on the edge. Right?
We're not we're not on the shooting part of Cleveland, Ohio. We are on the part of Cleveland, Ohio, where it's fairly safe, and this is an important distinction for Trump because I don't like Trump, and I say this at work all the time. when I have to defend people I don't like, it just makes me itch. And I don't like Trump, and I'm not voting for him. But you have to listen to his ideas and then open the debate and say, is this good for the country? Is this bad for the country? If everybody says it's bad for the country, that's fine. It was a bad idea. People have bad ideas all the time. I have bad ideas. Ted, I'm looking at your face. You're laughing because you probably think this webcast is a bad idea. But you have to be able to have a discourse. And when you are at war, and you can argue, are we at war with militant extremists? It seems like we've been having a drug war since 1969.
Yeah.
Right? Well, who are you? Well, we're fighting against our own citizens. Who are we fighting? We're fighting militant Islamic extremists. What's so hard to say about that?
Well, the funny thing about what Trump said is that he said it was just going to be until we could figure out what's going on. It's like, well, that's awfully vague.
Well, because I don't like Trump and I'm not voting for him, it could be the rest of his life he ain't figured out what's going on.
I'm paraphrasing, but it was something to that effect.
Oh, yeah, and you're right. But he might not ever figure out what's going on. He might be blissfully unaware. He might be like, like someone else we know. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to keep running the country. We'll figure out that thing in 4 to 6 to 8 to 10 years. I got to make sure that everybody's getting what's important, all the infrastructure. Maybe Trump will come in and he will not worry about immigrants, and he will say our number one priority is the infrastructure and fix all the highways. Who knows? I mean, maybe I'm all wrong about him. Maybe he's got the right plan. I don't think he does.
So basically, he'll say nobody's allowed in, and then he won't work on it. He'll just leave it like that.
Yeah, nobody's allowed in. Don't work on it. And we're going to work on these other problems over there. And Donald Trump, he's not all about helping the poor either. You know what I mean? So I think maybe his thing will be like corporate tax cuts. As soon as I figure out the corporate tax cuts, then I'll be all over the immigration problem.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Something keeps beeping. Is that you or me? Am I hitting a button or are you hitting a button?
Are you talking about this thing?
Yeah, maybe you are hitting a button because I'm look. See, this is awesome radio. Did I just turn it off again? Did I stop it? No.
Wait a minute.
Still good.
Can I hit this button just to see
what it
does?
go ahead. Let's hit that button.
Did it do anything?
No.
I'll hit it again.
Nope. Maybe it's my button. Okay. Hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to us insane guys. No. Apparently the computer has a mind of its own. Maybe it's become self-aware. Mm-hmm. Maybe it does not like what we're saying, and or if Joey G was here, he would say that the government is taking control of our computer and trying to filter out our thing. Now,
maybe it's like censoring us.
It could be. Maybe it doesn't like the loudness of my voice and it's trying to adjust the volume. That's possible.
Maybe this computer doesn't believe in free speech.
I remember when we first started work, right? And we had scanners. And no matter what work, whether you go to Home Depot or UPS, people have scanners, right? Mm-hmm. Well, maybe I remember when I started working here, they used to say
talking about those tan ones?
Yeah. And they said the scanner is your partner.
Yeah.
Right? Because we worked alone. Right? So the scanner's your partner. It'd be funny if me and you, we think of ourselves as partner, but the computer is rebelling against us. Now, I would be remiss not to bring up that Joe the empty chair is back and President Joe is gone because he's at work. He's at a special project. Mm-hmm. Right?
He got a better offer.
Yeah. Your better offer is to go to India. He's in Indianapolis. What do you think he's doing right now?
I don't know. Maybe, did they go to the casino? Is there a casino there?
I think there's casinos everywhere now. I think other than Utah, that is the only state that doesn't have casinos anymore. So if it's 5:30, I'm sure or is it 6? Yeah, that's 1 hour off.
Yeah.
So he's probably at the casino.
I always like having a clock where you have to do math in order to figure out what it is.
You know what I always like is when you're somewhere and all the clocks are wrong and you got to figure out which one is right. Like, we have a vault where we work and there'd be 4 clocks. Well, one of them would be right, and then you'd have to remember day to day which one was right and which of the other three were wrong. Because I think that's always good. That's always a good game too. What time is it really?
Mm-hmm.
So
and even if a clock is like an hour off, it seems like a lot harder to figure out than it should be.
Like you're flashing back to when you were a kid.
Yeah.
When you have to do math in your head. That's nice.
That's like when you change the clocks, forward or back, trying to figure out like the next morning, is it going to be light or early or late? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is the sun going to come up earlier or later? It's like, it seems like a lot harder to figure out than it should be.
Yeah. We are so off topic. Do you want me to go back? Do we want to dwell on?
Might as well, because this is
not riveting radio.
This is like getting way out of control.
So anyhow,
this is like a car going off a cliff.
So after the two shootings, the right wing, basically terrorism, from Muslim terrorism, Christian terrorism. Okay, now New York Times came out, said we need to ban the guns. And then Obama came out and said, you know what, we're going to have to do something about these guns. Okay?
Because everybody's minding their own business, and every month or two, a gun goes crazy and jumps into somebody's hands.
Yeah. And that's where I'm going with it. Now, I'm not saying, again, I don't like guns, okay, Ted? But people are like, well, we got to rewrite the Constitution. Well, again, guns are in the Constitution. It's... people, I said, I think maybe the second episode, somebody said we have to revisit the Second Amendment. Okay, go and do a constitutional convention and ban the guns. Go ahead. But you can't, it's like you go up and you're like, I want to ban the guns. Well, guess what? You're the president. Start the ball rolling and ban the guns. Not whine about banning guns and then do nothing about it when you're the president. There's lots of things you can do. Well, then do it, and don't effing whine about it.
It's funny because it seems like the same people who want to ban guns don't seem to know that it's in the Constitution that we can have guns.
Yeah.
And then I think it's the same people who say it's unconstitutional to keep people from the Middle East from coming in here.
Yeah, and it's very constitutional. There's a law.
Yeah.
And so you can say, and you can have a discourse... Ted, and me and you were talking about this earlier. In the 20s, alcohol was so bad, everybody was drunk. It was like we were Russia, okay?
It seems like it because it seems like everybody's grandfather was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
It seems that way.
Yeah, they're all drunks. So we got to do prohibition, right? So we do prohibition. They changed the concept. Oh, they changed the Constitution. What a great concept. And then, what was it, 8 years later, they're like, oh, holy cow, crime's worse, everything's messed up, we got to change the Constitution back. If you don't like guns, then go and quit whining about it. There's solutions for every problem in the whole world, and this is where I'm going with the guns, okay? Now, I read the most absurd article I ever heard, okay? I truly believe this. Every problem in the world has a solution. It's just that people don't want to make solutions happen because it's hard work.
Yeah.
People don't want to do hard work. Oh, we don't want to do a constitutional convention. We don't want guns.
Yeah, they just want to say what they want, and then they want that to be.
Yeah, go through the drive-thru and get your meal in a minute and a half. I don't want guns.
Yeah, can I take your order? Yeah, I'd like no guns, and I want it now.
Yeah, okay, tomorrow, no guns. Now, I'm not saying whether there should or shouldn't be guns. I'm saying there's a solution to the problem.
There's
too much
process.
Yeah, there's too much work to make guns go away. Now, and this is the article I read. Now, in 2 weeks is a new Star Wars movie, right? Now,
which I'm sure I won't be seeing.
Well, but you saw the original in 1977, right?
Yeah, I think I did.
Well, you're familiar with the Death Star. It's a big artificial satellite in space, right? Where the evil empire, wanted to go and conquer worlds. Mm-hmm. I read an article that said we have the technology to build the Death Star. Not me and you. Me and you, we're dopes, right? But America and Russia, if you got all the scientists, doing the Hadron Collider and all the people in Russia and America, we could build a Death Star. But it would cost, and I wrote it down, it would cost $17 quadrillion. $17 quadrillion to build a Death Star. Well, if nobody eats for 5 years, we could probably save up $17 quadrillion and build a Death Star.
Oh, okay, so basically you go billion, trillion, quadrillion.
Right.
Okay, so that's the next thing after trillion is
Right.
quadrillion.
So basically, all the money in the world, nobody gets food, nobody gets cars for, what, 5, 10,
So
maybe
what is
100
that?
years.
That's like what, 15 zeros, I think?
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
So you could build a Death Star. Well, would you be willing to not eat for 5 years so we could build a Death Star?
No.
No, me neither. Okay, but we could do it. And it's like everything else. Everything can be done. We have the know-how. Do we want to have world peace? Oh, if we have world peace, I'd have to go to meetings every day for like a year. That kind of sucks. Then I don't get to go see my daughter's 8th grade recital or whatever, however old Obama's kids are. And I'm not picking on him per se. Any president of the Middle East, president of Africa, and I know those aren't real positions, but you know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And when I read the article, I'm like, number one, how do you come up with 17 quadrillion? And number two, I was stunned that they said they have the technology, or they are on the cusp of the technology where they could do it.
I'm trying to think. So that would be, our national debt is what, like 19 trillion?
19 trillion.
So what would that be, like basically 1,000 times what our national debt is, maybe?
Right.
Okay. Roughly?
Yeah, 1,000 times. So 1,000 Americas worth of debt. But again, I don't even know if there's 17 quadrillion million. Excuse me, I can't even talk. I don't even know if there's 17 quadrillion dollars in the whole world right now.
I don't think there is.
But even if there was, you could start saving, put pennies, and then, in 1,000 years we could build a Death Star with interest. But it goes back to, if we had to build a Death Star, we could. Well, do we want to build one and try and go over to Mars? You cannot get how many people are in the world today? 9 billion people?
Yeah, something like that.
Just get 9 billion people to a quadrillion. 9 billion people just pays $1 million each, and we got a Death Star.
Because everybody has $1 million.
Yeah, you got $1 million under your bed, right?
Yeah. I got it on me right now.
Yeah, your billion, trillion. Oh no, it wouldn't be $1 million. It'd be 100,000. Is my math off? I think it's 100,000, not $1 million. Anyhow, just take 100,000. Just take your house and send it to the Build the Death Star fund. Okay. And that's the whole thing. It's like problems have solutions, Ted. They all do. But it's, do you want to make the solution happen? No, I think I'd rather stay home and play, play Call of Duty. Or I'd rather go out and, do whatever. Ted's looking at my number like I made up. No, I swear to God, I wrote down 17 quadrillion from the article.
So they know that that's how much it would cost?
Oh, it was a scientist. It wasn't an economist. Mm-hmm. But the scientist said, yeah, we could do it. All we have to do is do blah, 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 shoot it into space. We probably need some more of this. And I'm like, this guy is insane. Now, number one, me and you work for a living, so we do work during the day. How long do you think it took him and his brain to figure out it would take $17 billion to do a Death Star? Well, he's probably, however where he was in his little science lab, he probably took 3 months crunching numbers. Well, you'd have to do the plumbing for toilets of a Death Star, and that would cost $2.2 billion just to get water through the pipes and to flush the feces into a holding container. It's like, oh my, is that what you do all day? It's stuff that literally has no value whatsoever. I mean, I read the article and I wanted to beat my head on the wall.
He probably just pulled it out of the air.
So
he's probably like, nobody's going to know any different anyway.
So he billed his boss for 3 months and he figured out how much it would cost for a Death Star. He went home and he was eating, Cracker Jacks and drinking beer and watching sports. And then at the end of 3 months, he came back and said, 17 quadrillion.
Yeah, because how are you going to verify that?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, but like I said, I kept reading it, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But then it just made me madder and madder. I'm like, oh, why should I even read science magazines? And it's like even more hype for this stupid Star Wars movie. And like I said, I want to see it, but I remember being a kid and loving it. I can't imagine in my 40s I'm going to love it. You know what I mean?
Is that what I'm not supposed to look
Yes,
at?
this is what you're not supposed to look at. And that the Death Star ties us up. Every week I bring in a magazine, right? And this week I brought in Discover magazine. Ooh, and the title is 100 Top Stories of 2015. Now, they do not give a rat's ass about what's going on in Ukraine. They don't care about Obama. They don't care about the civil war in Sudan. It's Discover. It's science for the curious. Now, I'm going to ruin it for you because the whole reason I got it is because I'm like, I know what the top story is in my mind, and I looked. You could probably guess anyhow because I covered it up. But could you guess what the #1 story in science was? I could guess it, but it wasn't that hard. In the year 2015, what was the #1 science story?
#1 science story?
Science story, not sports, not politics. In science.
God, I'm drawing a blank.
Okay, I'll show you the picture. You ready? I'm going to cover the title. Does this do anything for you?
Oh, is it Pluto?
Yes, #1 story was Pluto. And the whole reason I wanted to bring it up today, #1 story in science is Pluto. I agree 100%. #1 story in science is Pluto. I agree with Discover. I remember when I was a kid, I had a book called Our Universe. And I went back and it was published in 1984. Okay, so that means the book was 31 years old. And I went back and I was going to give it to my son because it was in a closet, right? It literally said that Pluto had 1 moon. It had a picture of Pluto and it was a blurry dot. I mean, it literally could have been anything, Ted. Okay? Now Pluto has 5 satellites. It said that Saturn had 12 satellites. Now it has like 53. Okay? Jupiter, they said no rings around Jupiter. Now we know there's a ring around Jupiter. It didn't have anything about anything in the Kuiper Belt. It was like the Kuiper Belt exists. Now we're sending spaceships out to the Kuiper Belt. In 30 years, we went from a blurry dot to high-def pictures, and I'm waving at you right now. Color photos, and we flew within 7,000 miles of Pluto. I mean, in one generation, literally 30 years, would you say that's about one generation?
Now, how long did it take them to get, so what did you say, 7,000 miles from Pluto?
7,000 miles away from Pluto.
How long did it take them to get that thing out there?
Oh, now you're going to make me do, look.
I mean, what is it, years?
Yeah, it was definitely years. Brewing, the ideas came up in the 70s, but doesn't say when it launched. But I think it was the 80s. But no matter when they sent it.
So they sent it in the 80s and it just got out there?
Yeah, because don't forget, the Voyagers, New Horizons went to Pluto. But Voyager left, it left the universe just a couple of years ago, and those were launched in 77 and 79, I want to say. Since the Voyager missions of the 70s, and then New Horizons was after, so it would have had to been after that. Wow. And don't forget, we only went to the moon, which is right next door, in 1969. So in 2 generations, it's literal exponential growth. You know what I mean? So when we talk about science, I didn't know we could build a Death Star. Again, we talked about the limitations, but maybe the price of a Death Star, like if you would have bought a big screen TV 10 years ago, it was what, $2,000 or $3,000. Now you'd get one for $500. Same thing with a Death Star. You know, the prices are going to come down, right? And so it's amazing to me, and this is horrible radio, but I'm showing Ted
one
pictures
day
of
everybody
Pluto.
will have their own Death Star? Or...
That would be awesome. Instead of having world wars, we're having the interstellar space wars. But yeah, and that's why I'm like, wow, that is...
A Death Star in every pot.
And it's good news. It's not really bad news. We went to Pluto. How is that bad news? You know what I mean? There weren't aliens. They didn't capture the New Horizons and say, oh, we're coming for you next. It's good news. We're exponentially learning the expanses of our own solar system. And so usually I bring in stuff and I'm bitching about it, but I agree 100%. I'm like, I could have been the editor of Discover magazine.
You know, maybe one day we could screw up that planet.
Well, thank you, Ted. Now, The second story, I had no idea about. Do you want to guess the second story?
God, I have no idea.
I had no idea either. It was all about instead of Homo sapiens, before Homo sapiens, they found a whole Homo naledi skeleton, which was before Homo sapiens.
Yeah, there's no way I would have ever gotten that.
And I'm like, I am not a hardcore scientist where I would have known that. The third one I actually did know, and it was people are blowing stuff up in Iraq.
Oh,
ISIS,
yeah.
ISIS is destroying
like 2,000-year-old stuff.
artifacts, yeah. And then
it's just another great thing that they do.
Yeah. Another thing I say, hey, come join
It's
our.
like no redeeming qualities, like at all.
Well, it was funny. Literally, right before I came in, I looked on Daily Mail, right? And ISIS feels like they're getting a bad rap around the world.
Oh, I don't know why.
So they've been trying to post what the
good things they do.
what the radicals do in their spare time, and I guess they've been posting pictures. I'm being dead serious. I'll show you. If today is December 10th, right?
Yeah.
On December 10th, on the Daily Mail, they said ISIS is posting pictures on their Twitter feeds of the radicals fishing. They're holding up fish
okay.
and they're scuba diving, and their beards are sticking out from the scuba gear.
Okay.
Right? Because it's not all killing and pillaging. It's also about outdoor activities.
Now, did they do the scuba diving the same time as they drowned the guys in a cage? Or?
They did not show. They did not.
Is that multitasking? Or?
The cage is on the other side of the picture.
Okay.
I don't think that's what's going on. But I was like, is this really? And even Daily Mail said bizarre pictures coming from ISIS, like they're having trouble recruiting. It's not all, 8 to 5, we're all about killing, but from, 5 o'clock on, it's not Miller time because we don't drink either.
Yeah.
But, it's time to kick back and put your feet up and then catch some fish.
Now, do they do any charitable work or?
That I don't know. I didn't read that far in the article. I just saw they were talking about the Instagram account. But, so I'll finish, because usually we do the top 10, and I haven't done a top 10 list in the last couple. Number 4 is climate change. I know you're stunned about that.
Yeah.
Number 5 is when we went to the little mini planet Ceres in the asteroid belt, Ceres. And look, see, it glimmers in the light. Number 6, people used to use tools, rock tools, before we even knew. That's not news. They can put that back. That's wrong.
That's like the tools that I have.
The tools in your Garfield garage, just basically rocks.
Well, I wonder
nails
why
in
I
the
can't
wood.
do anything.
Number 7 was the aftermath of Ebola. I agree, because now they're saying that Ebola could turn into, even if you're healed, it could stay in like your semen or in your reproductive glands for a year. So that's big news. I agree. Number 8.
So basically, that's like shingles or whatever. It can come back years later.
Yeah, it come back and haunt you. So I agree with that.
It's a horrifying rash or something.
Number 8 was psychology's inner demons, and basically this was a funny article. It said they took 100 high-profile psychology experiments and tried to reproduce them, and they said only 35 of 100 were replicated the same. So that means they couldn't even replicate their own experiments. I'm like, nice job, psychology. Number 9.
Isn't that what your major?
Yeah, why you gotta mock me? I remember when I was in psychology, and I'm like, oh, you're learning about brains, you're learning about behaviors, you're learning about how people work. And there was a guy, and he was a counselor. And I can't remember his name. It makes me angry because I hated him. And he would say, the whole secret to counseling is this. Ted, name any problem that you have in your life.
Let's see, any problem that I have.
Even a simple problem.
Okay, how about work?
Okay. Whoa, you say that work is a problem, but how do you feel that your work is a problem? Well, I didn't answer any of your questions. All I did is say exactly what you said. I took the words, I spun them around, and then threw them right back at you.
Well,
And this guy,
what's the
that's
problem?
all he
What's
ever
the
did.
problem with work? Well, I don't like it. Well, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, and well, he never
That I don't like it.
he never said how do you make it feel. This guy, and I forget his name. I wish I had it. Maybe I'll come back next. But his whole counseling method was you don't answer anything. Everything you say, I throw back at you. Like I take all the words like a puzzle and switch them around and throw them back at you. And you're like, oh, now that you've asked me the question in a different order, I just had a effing epiphany, right? So that's where you go next. But yeah, so psychology's inner demons, that was funny. Number 9, the Rosetta spacecraft visited a comet. That's kind of big news because they think comets might be seeding the universe with like water and carbon and stuff and starting planets. That's how planets start.
Oh,
I think
wow.
that's interesting.
Yeah, that is.
So I agree. And then number 10 is the ethics of editing human embryos. I agree
So are you
with that
saying
also.
comets carry like water and? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
When you
like
say
some of them have
seeding?
some water, and the steam will go by a planet, and then like it'll get onto the planet. Like there could be like not DNA like me and you have, but like planet DNA could be carried on comets, and as they go by, it gets on comets and it falls off of comets.
Yeah.
So I thought that was, and even if it's not true, it's an interesting concept. And again, you're talking about the arena of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 10 was the ethics of editing human embryos, which is great. And what it says here is, say you have Alzheimer's. Maybe they could edit Alzheimer's out of your DNA,
Yeah,
right?
Just,
And that's great. But that's not what happens.
just take that. What is it? A gene?
Yeah,
Just
take that
the
gene,
for
splice
that,
it
just
out.
take it out.
Yeah. Now, that's great. But that's not what they'll do. What'll happen is rich people, they want blonde hair, blue-eyed babies, or they want a boy instead of a girl, or they want, we want someone who's predisposed to be tall, or somebody who's You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it'll be something totally vain.
It'll be
won't
totally
yeah.
something vain, and then next thing you know, should we be having designer babies? I already read this. Did you want to read it?
Yeah.
I'm going to throw this at you. But yeah, I thought that, again, usually I bring in articles, and I'm like all pissed off because I'm like, Dad, wrong. I read the Discover, and I'm like, I think they got it mostly right. Who would think that a bunch of scientists are the ones who are getting things right? So, and I picked on the scientists who, came up with the Death Star number. But, most scientists, I think they have, like, what's best for people at heart. You know what I mean? Like, there is something vaguely noble about most of them. You know what I mean? It's not like, I would, as a group, I have respect for a group of scientists versus a group of lawyers.
See, now, here's one. Team identifies genetic markers for depression.
Yeah.
You know what's great about this is that pretty soon, like, nothing will be your fault.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like,
I was
depressed. Well, it's in my DNA. What do you want me to do?
I was predisposed to depression, and now I'm going to have that edited right out. I'm going to be a happy guy.
I mean, this is, like, really positive, Because
Yeah.
it's, like, good. It's, like,
See,
all my
so-
limitations, it's, like, it's not my fault.
Yeah, so instead of taking a pill to make me happy, they could just take it out of my DNA. That'll make it... That's real nice. Nice job, science. But like I said, there's a few other things, because today we are actually on a time limit, so I apologize to you, Ted. And part of it is because Joe's gone, but the other part is because my wife said we gotta get home. We're not married to the same woman. You're single. And ladies, if you want, Ted will you take pictures?
Pictures of what?
If any women, I haven't checked in like 3 weeks, but what's our beacon of speech at Gmail? If they want to send pictures,
Women are sending pictures?
Not yet, but would you accept a picture of a woman? If
Yeah,
she sent one?
I'll do that.
Yes.
I'll sign up for that.
And because I'm happily married, please say attention Ted so I don't get in trouble. If you put attention Fred, I will be in big trouble because I am not soliciting any pictures. I am only, you know what,
Now, did you say that, are we set up for that?
Yeah, but nobody sends anything, so that's why I haven't looked. But because the last time I looked was when my throat was torched. So you are soliciting pictures of attractive women, and you're open to that. I am soliciting, if you have an unsigned band, and you think your band is weird, I will listen to it and I will make your band the song of the day. Send me your.
Wouldn't that be funny if like my old band would actually send you something?
Yeah, that would be funny if Wasted Space sent me something and they're like Wasted Space without Ted Coley. I'm like, we're gonna make that the song of the day. Before I forget, and this we're gonna skip sports today. And boo boo, there are no sports. Okay, because there's no Joe Kaufman. Actually, we'll touch on it real fast. It's one sentence. I read a Terry Pluto article in Cleveland, and he said it was weird. The University of Akron, their soccer team is actually playing for, I think they're in the semifinals of the NCAA soccer tournament, which is great. Their old coach is taking the Portland Timber to the MLS championship. So since University of Akron's right down the road, good luck to University of Akron and good luck to the Portland Timber. They both have ties to Akron, so that's nice.
A lot of Pluto-related things today.
Yeah, oh, see, Terry Pluto, the planet Pluto, maybe that'll be our theme.
It's the new Russia.
Pluto is the new Russia. But, okay, that's the only sports thing. I did want to talk about one or two things about Scott Wieland before we left.
Very sad.
So our entertainment section is Scott Wieland died. You know I like all kinds of crazy bands, but Scott Wieland, my wife loves the Stone Temple Pilots, and she dragged me to Stone Temple Pilots. I really didn't want to go, but I had heard their songs on the radio, and I'm like, they're not bad, they're okay, right?
Yeah.
When I went, he was amazing. Scott Wieland in his prime was what a rock star was supposed to be. He was on top of his game.
Now, he mainly... He was strictly a singer, right?
Oh, yeah, I never saw him.
When you saw that show, he didn't play anything, right?
No, he was not playing anything.
Oh.
But, again, now I don't know if I can reproduce this, but he had the megaphones. He had the 3 megaphones.
Yeah.
So he would sing, and then he would sing into a megaphone and hold the microphone out, but then he'd drop down and he'd sing real low, and then he'd sing real high, and he'd be like, and ahead. And he had range, and he's going up and down, and it was amazing because his voice was the instrument.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he had the energy, he had the crowd, he was the definition of a rock and roll lead singer. I mean, he got in the company of, Freddie Mercury or Robert Plant. I mean, to me, Scott Wieland was the rock star. He was Axl Rose from 1989, you name the top of their game rock star, and that was it. And if he didn't, he was like a slow burn.
Now, I have a question.
Yes.
Did he have a brother in that band? Or am I, imagining that?
No. The brothers, it was kind of like Van Halen, right?
Okay, I'm talking Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah.
There was no...
No, the brothers were, I believe, the drummer and the lead guitarist, and then their friend was the bass player. Does that sound familiar?
Okay.
So and you've said this a million times.
There was no Scott Weiland brother.
No. The percussion, like you said, the percussion or the instrumentation was all against the lead singer, and the lead singer against the instrumentation. How many times you say that happens in a band?
Oh, almost all the time.
Yeah. And so that's what happened to the Stone Temple Pilots. Stone Temple Pilots, don't get me wrong, they're a good band, and they're musicians, they're good. But I don't get the impression that they were one of the top bands in the 90s because of them. It was Scott Wieland. You know what I mean?
I also have, I guess this is kind of like a prediction, even though I don't really have a specific date or timeline.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to go off
go
subject.
ahead.
It's still rock and roll.
Yeah.
Van Halen.
Uh-huh.
My prediction is that, do you know if Alex Van Halen has any sons?
Oh, no, I don't.
Because my prediction is, if he does, one of them will become the lead singer on the next tour. So it'll be all Van Halen, because they're slowly proving that they can't work with anybody.
Yeah. I can't argue with you. I just
So
don't
I
know.
say the next tour, David Lee Roth will be out, and it'll be another Van Halen. It'll be a completely Van Halen.
It'll be Alex Van Halen's son singing, and Wolfgang on bass, and Eddie on guitar. Yeah, that sounds fair.
They'll be like the Osmonds, or.
But before I forget about Scott Wieland, and I know it's Weiland or whatever, I don't care.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't
Okay,
know
you
which way is right.
Again, they weren't one of my favorite bands. Okay, but you know, I've said this before. You don't have to like something to respect it. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, I respected certain country artists, but I didn't listen to them. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, they do their thing, and they, you know, like Johnny Cash, right? I respect him. Now that I'm older, I kind of appreciate Johnny Cash, but it's like that, and it's the same thing with the Stone Temple Pilots. I liked them; they were okay, but I would never. If I wasn't married to my wife, I would have never went there. I would have never learned about how awesome he was in concert and how on top of the game he was. And like I said, there's some songs I really like, but then there's some other songs that are like everybody's
Where
like,
where did you go to see them?
Nautica on the river,
Okay.
and like I said, it was amazing. But everybody's like, oh, everybody loves Interstate Love Song. I'm like, nah, I don't really like that song. But that's why my song of the day, because I forgot to mention it last week, my song of the day this week is Unglued by Stone Temple Pilots. I mean, Unglued by Stone Temple Pilots, that is what rock and roll is supposed
I
to
thought
be.
you were going to play it.
I was going to play it, but again, that's going to have to be the next step of our evolution. So, again, if we play it, the next thing you know, the estate. Now, Scott Weiland had 2 kids, or Wieland, I keep mispronouncing it. I am so sorry. But he had 2 kids, right? Well, I'm sure the third wife is like, well, those kids need money. And as soon as I make that the song of the day, I put it on the webcast. I put it at the end. Next thing you know, I'm in copyright infringement, and they yank it off of YouTube. And so that's why we don't do song of the day. We just say the song of the day, but we don't put it on, so we don't get the copyright infringement notice. Because sometimes I will post music, and it'll come back and it'll say copyright infringed. But luckily, most of the stuff... Now, this is a question I have for you. There's a song, and do you like Emerson, Lake and Palmer?
I don't know that much about them. Like, name a couple of their songs.
Oh, you're asking the wrong guy. I was not a big Emerson, Lake and Palmer guy. But...
Did they do that song, What a Lucky Man He Was? Is that them?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
But one of my favorite songs from the 80s is Emerson, Lake and Powell. Okay?
Yeah, I remember that.
It was one album, and they did a song called Touch and Go, right? And it was awesome, and I loved it. I love that song. But they only did one album together as ELP, Emerson, Lake and Powell.
Yeah.
Everything else is Emerson, Lake and Palmer, right? So I went on iTunes to buy it, and I couldn't buy it. I'm like, it's not that obscure. That had to have been like 1986, 87. And it seems like all the stuff I post on YouTube is so obscure, it's not even on YouTube, or it's not on iTunes. And I'm like, that song was not that obscure. The Touch and Go song. I mean, they played it on MTV.
No,
I heard it on the radio.
Was his first name Cozy? Is that?
Yes. See, your brain... You are the king. That's why you are a gem, because you are, and I could look it up and verify, but I think you're right.
Yeah.
But you are the master of classic rock. You just are. Now, I know of classic rock, and it seemed like classic rock was always on the radio when I was a kid, but a lot of it was, oh yeah, I get it, classic rock. Okay, well, what's new? What's new? Well, I want to hear what's new. Okay? And some stuff you like, and then some stuff, you know, it's 40 years old, and you're just sick of it.
Yeah.
So are you going to go home and listen? Are you going to go home and listen to Touch and Go by Emerson, Lake and Powell when you get home?
No, because I don't have it.
Are you going to go home and listen to Unglued by the Stone Temple Pilots?
No, because I don't have it. I don't think I've ever heard that. Was that one that they would play on the radio, or is that the Stone Temple Pilots?
Yeah, they
Unglued, really?
Yeah, they played it, but it was like if you name their top 10 hits, that would have been like at number 9. I mean, they played it on the end, and I used to love it to hear it on the end, but I don't know if they ever played it on MMS. I think MMS only played like their top 2 or 3 songs. So, somebody from MMS is probably listening now. Oh, screw you! We played it. We played it at 4 in the morning on Saturdays. You didn't listen to it. All right, Ted. I am very sorry about the abbreviated.
The abbreviated septum.
The abbreviated beacon of speech. We are going to go back to the hour and a half because we've been aiming for about an hour and a half, right? Every week it's been about an hour and a half.
Yeah, they're usually right around there.
Give or take. So we get the abbreviated beacon of speech because there is no Joe. We love Joe.
Mhm.
If he was in the state, we would have waited. But Joe's out of the state, and when he gets back, he said he's probably not going to be able to do it because he's been out of state.
Mhm.
So we're going to go back to Joe is back in Beacon of Speech next week. Hopefully, me and you are back. Hopefully he doesn't come back, kick us out, and he has replacement since he's the president. And Ted, I thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Maybe he'll overthrow us like with the guy down the hall.
That would be the ultimate irony is if Joe came in, he says, I'm the president, you two are kicked out. We're going to go with the guy who calls radio stations and meows at them. Okay? Now that would be hysterical. But Ted, I thank you very much. Thank you for everything. It's always good. I love doing the webcast with you guys. If you get a chance, check out my book, American Suicide. Good luck finding it. It's as rare as Touch and Go. Watch my movie, Blasphemers the Movie. That's easy, blasphemersthemovie.com. And is that all we're promoting? Do you want to promote anything today?
No, I'm promoting nothing.
Ted promotes nothing. Have a great night, everybody.